Hey, and we're back with another episode of Before You Buy. That show where we give you some straight-up gameplay and our first impressions of the latest games releasing. Today we're talking about Skull and Bones. This is Ubisoft's online pirate game, finally out after years of delays. Between the beta, the early access, jumping into some of that, and now here at launch, we've been playing it, and my first impressions might confirm some of your suspicions. Skull and Bones, to me, doesn't feel like something worth $70 and a decade of waiting. They've been working on this game for so long, so many people worked on it, and if you were never really excited about this one, I don't think this video will convince you otherwise, but I like pirate games. I always want and advocate for more pirate games. We don't have enough of them. So I gave this one a shot. So what Ubisoft made here is a pretty straightforward live service pirate action game. It's designed to keep you grinding and playing and sailing and blasting and paying. And that's it, really. There's always going to be a chunk of gamers that this just isn't the target audience for. Some people don't like live service games. What void does this fill, though? I'd say if you want something different than, I guess, Sea of Thieves, you're looking for maybe like a kind of light, casual pirate ship action game, kind of like a very basic pirate World of Warships, maybe like a really rough, bad comparison, but I'm gonna make it. That's what this is. I think it will find an audience because it's not a disaster. I've already found chunks of people online in communities who are into it. You know, I don't want to yuck anyone's yum, but me personally, I haven't enjoyed my time with it. Let me explain why, but at least also break down the gist of what the game is. So, you create a character and jump into a large pirate world, kind of representing the Indian Ocean. It's got a good amount of size to it. It feels worthy of exploration. There's interesting islands. There's definitely kind of like some biome stuff going on. But before all that, you're dumped into the main pirate town or the first settlement, and you're introduced to the main crafting elements of the game. Basically, the core loop. Now, there are tons of quests to be found right around here, from kind of story-centric NPCs to people you can bribe for rumors to a job board you can walk up and take tasks from, a bounty board, and then even when you're sailing, you'll get clued into more mysteries and find treasure maps. It's all overwhelming at first, but also really dull at the same time. To be completely honest with you guys, the first hour or two or even 3 of Skull and Bones nearly bored me to tears. Like talking to generic NPCs about how to gather resources to craft these items, to then get this, to then craft that, and blah, blah, blah. Like taking missions, sailing around just to collect more resources. All of it just felt so lifeless and almost cynical. Like it's like the real life equivalent of showing up for a job and the foreman is like, here you go, do this. This is what you do. Don't ask any questions. Like I'm fine with crafting and grinding loops, but the game took no time to instill why anything matters, why anything is worth grinding for, why X is more valuable than Y. No, it literally was just like, hey, click on this. Okay, now click on that. Okay, now click on this. Good, right? Okay, it's just to get you into the hamster wheel. Now, if I feel cynical here, yeah, I guess I am. But this is where the game is at its worst. You know, I got no sense of world, character, or place. My character that I created is just like this silent, mindless little avatar talking to NPCs that don't really seem to matter too much. There's a lot of presentation, and some of the quest givers do look visually great. There's cool music, but there's no agency to any storytelling or anything. There's some interesting stuff going on with like the different factions behind the scenes, like including the native factions that you'll find out on the islands, but most of it just felt devoid of any life or any excitement, anything interesting. I didn't want to talk to any pirates because they were all just glorified vendors half the time anyway. This is all harshened by the fact that, like, credit where credit is due, at least, the outposts, the islands and towns that you land on are full of detail and look really, really cool. The main pirate town you start off in, more than the rest, actually feels lively and cool, like a big, messy, shanty pirate city dirty, filled with grime and chaos, just like you'd hope. It's a weird contrast to some of the other islands and communities you'll stop at that are beautiful, great designs, sunken ships, haunted caves, beautiful villas, all that, but are like totally empty with maybe like a vendor and one quest giver guy standing around waiting for you. It feels like they're hoping a bunch of players will be milling about here and just filling out the world. I don't know. Anyway, none of this really matters. That's all menus and quests and crafting and inventory screens. What matters the most in this game, the crux of the gameplay, is the sailing and the ship battles. It's almost weirdly arcadey style, more than I expected. Arcadey meaning light, fast, fun, and not realistic. Even with some of the larger ships, Skull and Bones does play very slick, with everything being pretty responsive and easy to use and accessible. Now, like if you've played Assassin's Creed Black Flag, and I'm trying to be fair by not comparing the game to this, the whole video, I haven't brought it up yet, but for like explanation's sake, think of the ship stuff here kind of like a dumbed down version of Black Flag, and faster and more action oriented. And it can be a good bit of fun. Sailing around is managed by kicking up a couple of speed notches, and you have crew stamina to manage if you want to go really fast, and then you can get like items and things that kind of help with that. Along with that, the wind is something constantly changing here, like near constantly something that you have to worry about and work with and manage more actively than something like in Black Flag or Rogue. There's an easily swappable wide third-person view, a cockpit first-person view from behind the wheel of the ship, and a crow's nest view, which is actually really fun to use, sometimes like when you're scouting for far-off ships. It's very easy to get quickly back into that sailing vibe. You know, you got the sea shanties, you got a cool view, the fog's rolling in or a sun is setting, some birds are following your ship. It can be gorgeous and kind of like chill to just sail around and hear, what can we do with a drunken sailor? Like I've been there before in other games and it gets me every time. Pirate stuff is just cool and it does work here. And combat itself is flashy and kind of fast. Now, drawn out battles can take a while with the big ships, yeah, but it still just feels brisk because aiming, steering, everything is just zippy and responsive. Ships have weak points you can usually target, and you can even use cool little tactics like taking out a ship's sails to slow them down. Also, there's just a cool variety of weapons and cannons and stuff. Some of them are video gamey and a little ridiculous, like this is not the most realistic pirate simulator or anything like that. I said it's arcadey, but there are good, satisfying shots and explosions and visual effects like spark and smoke. Damage to other ships doesn't always come off very impressive though. Like there is damage, but the impacts aren't always as visually satisfying. And bracing for impact just feels kind of soft. Like you can do it, you can hold a button when you see the enemies preparing to fire upon you, but it just doesn't feel as good as it does in other games. Even still with all this, I was surprised how much I like the combat. From smaller ships to medium ships, I was sailing through the seas, targeting and massacring other ships, and just pillaging. And then the drawn out ship battles with bigger enemies like the wanted bounty targets are pretty cool, surprising, and actually really challenging. I got my ass kicked, and it was good. Dropping stuff, setting stuff on fire, launching mortars, using long guns, short-range, big explosive shots. I had a lot of fun with the weaponry, and the combat was good enough that I finally started to care about crafting a bit because I wanted more ship armor and better cannons. Unfortunately, there's no boarding whatsoever. Like, there's like a little mini game where you throw hooks to try and get onto the ship to nail that boarding, and it's finicky and kind of annoying, but then when you get it, you just get a quick cutscene of people boarding, and then you get bonuses. That's it. So many things in this game are relegated to just clicking on something and then something happening, where in many other games, you would actually be able to participate in that. You're not parking your ship. You're not launching your ship. You're not boarding enemy ships. It's all just kind of things that just automatically happen for you and just gives you loots and splash screens. I will say the customization is decent. My one negative, though, the biggest omission is crew customization. You can change their overall looks, but you can't pick your crew or really tweak anything. From what I could see, you also can't customize your first mate who's by your side, who I got sick of after a while, but like everything else, the ship sails, the ship logos, ship paint, body type, the sail paint, crow's nest decorations, decorative stuff on the front, all of that I think is really fairly detailed, and I think it's going to be enough for people who want to customize their ships. Of course, this all comes with a paid cash shop where the game gives you plenty of options to spend additional money after buying this $70+ game, which I'm never the biggest fan of. There's no pay to win from here, it seems. Like, you can't buy more powerful weapons or anything. It's just cosmetics, but yeah. Now, other player interaction is pretty simple. Out on the sea, it's nice to have someone blasting away with you, taking down some fleets or a big ship, but anywhere else, I couldn't really be bothered. Social features on the ground, I didn't really find much of note, really. I think a lot of that comes with the on-foot stuff just not being great at all. Like I said earlier, it felt devoid of soul and life, anything really interesting to it, and that's from a gameplay perspective too. You can kind of run around all like floaty-like and just do emotes. Like occasionally maybe you'll climb a rope or a ladder. That's it. Have fun with that. When I'm looking for a pirate game, if it's ship or boat focused, sure, fair enough. But when you let me park my ship and tease me with being able to run around and customize my pirate up the wazoo, you bet your ass I want to be doing more than just clicking on crafting recipes. This is extremely disappointing. I want to do more on foot. Now, I know Ubisoft was upfront about there being no on-foot combat or adventuring or anything. Like, they were transparent there. I knew what I was getting into, but like, even knowing that and accepting that, I still just can't shake the feeling like that there's a big piece of the pie missing here. There's a big, beautiful world here. Some detail and some really fun ship blasting and customizing and, village raiding and pillaging and stuff. But I can't speak to high-level play, though. This is really just first impressions. I can't really judge the end game or just some balancing issues I've seen heavily discussed and some valid complaints raised on the subreddit, so be aware of that. But, I haven't really seen too much of that or can't talk about that too much because the base game I didn't really find interesting enough to push through. This isn't like a disaster of a game or anything, and it will have some player base, but as you can tell, it's not for me. Still, I think it can get better over time. Now, I'm really tired of saying this about modern games. I feel like I say it with every video, but it doesn't make it any less true here. I mean, I wasn't crazy about Sea of Thieves at launch. I found it cool, but lacking in a lot of spots. Now, Sea of Thieves kicks ass. Maybe the same will be for Skull and Bones, scratching a different itch for people looking for a different type of pirate game. I don't know. That's the optimist in me. I can't help myself. But for anyone less than super hyped about this release, I can't really recommend it right now, especially not for full price. Maybe if you're into pirates, keep an eye on it long term, but for now, that's where I'm at with first impressions. This is a before you buy. You know how this goes. I give you some pros, some cons, and now some personal opinion, and I want to hear yours down in the comments. I mean, we got Grumpy Jake today, so let me know if you agree or not. Let's chat about this or just your Let's chat about this, your expectations, and your favorite pirate game. Let's bring some positivity out of this. Do you have a favorite pirate game? Is it like the Sid Meier classic or something else? Let's talk anything pirates down in the comments, anything Skull and Bones. And if you like this video and seeing gameplay and stuff helps you out, clicking a like button's all you gotta do. It really helps us. And if you're new, consider subscribing, maybe hitting that notification bell, because we put out new videos every single day. But either way, as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.